Hey, what is going on? RoK Familia, it is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today we are going to be taking a look at the top, I guess we could say top 32 Imperium kingdoms, where we'll look at the list, we'll show you kind of who the top kingdoms are, and then we're going to do an analysis of the current number one Imperium kingdom, which now has been replaced from the previous. So if we can, before we dive into kind of showing you the brief list, giving a promo out, and then we'll dive into do some brief analysis on the number one. As always, if you enjoy the content, make sure you sub, like, ring the notification bell, and of course, if you want to join and be a part of our conversation, hit up the Discord. You can find a link to that in the pinned comment description down below. All right, so let's go ahead and do this. We'll do a little turn, and this great website, right? This is RoK Board, RoK Board.com. Free sign up. You can make an account. Big shout out to them. They do a lot of fantastic stats and data pools across, I want to say, a lot of kingdoms, if not arguably almost all of the kingdoms. And these pieces of information, data sets, are constantly being updated. You can see here for the Imperium, which is the top 300 player power with the 150 mil cap. For the Imperium power here, you can see the rankings as well. Again, you got 1960 as the now new number one. 1307, we got 1484, 1534, 1474, rounding out your top five. And then you can kind of see how it'll go down, going to 2244, 1412, 1647, 1302, 1008, brings you to your top 10. And you can see last entered 3 days ago. And we can kind of go all the way to look at the top 32, and it'll go farther than that. But you can see kind of the bubble position here, which is pretty much at 24.35 billion power. And you can see this is really close, right? 93 mil kind of separates them from 33. And then you have a little bit of a larger gap, right? At 222, kind of getting into your 310, 315 mil for the gap there at 33, 34. So it is close. And typically the bottom positions usually change the most frequently, just because of the power range is a lot closer for those sets, or for those kingdoms, I should say. But that kind of rounds out your top 10, and then showing you some here, right? If you're looking kind of 10 through 26, here's your numbers. It is interesting too as well, because the gaps are not too much. I mean, if you look at 32, which is at 24.35 billion, and number one at 30.5, I mean, you're looking at really, what is that, 6.15 billion difference between the current bubble position at 32 and then to number one. So, when you think about that, I mean, that's arguably, one alliance, maybe half of an alliance, quarter of an alliance, right? Just depending on how old the kingdom is. So again, just wanted to point that out. I thought that was pretty interesting. And we'll try and bring you some more. Again, I really love doing a lot of deep data diving. And so I think that there's sometimes can be really cool stats that we can extrapolate from either individuals who post current data, for example, like on rockboard.com, and obviously a big shout out to them, but in other ways too as well. So now let's go ahead and go back to RoK, and we're going to take a look here at 1960. So given that they are currently in KVK, right, we're not going to focus too heavily on the power distribution, but we will look at kind of how they're positioning, kind of slash repositioning some of the things if we notice that for KVK. And so as always, right, we'll kind of take a look here at Zone 3. So Zone 3, you can see here that there's 1, 2, so we got red, green, you got purple for 3. And that kind of rounds out what we're looking at here, right, for your three alliances in Zone 3. You have a little bit of a creeping here from KS in blue, but it's not really too much in that regard. Then we kind of start looking at the Zone 2s, and you can see here, right, perimeter here along the wall. You have a purple, which is 60 FN, right? A little bit of a creep there from red, kind of extending out. I like the idea of doing this where you kind of like put the alliances in the middle, then you just kind of creep out from there, because it doesn't really disturb too much of the flow, or if you kind of have to go sideways or in from another, you can kind of look at how this makes it easy to still build around. So I kind of like that idea if you're able to kind of prep ahead of time, and really cool to see here. Then we get, again, extension from purple. You got pink. You have what seems to be blue, maybe light blue. A little bit of an extension here from green, but that's, again, from Zone 3, so I'm not really going to count that too much. So really for the entirety here, right, you're seeing green extend. You're really seeing blue, purple, or I should say pink, and then purple in this case, right? So kind of 3 other alliances that you're seeing there besides. I really like that. It's a little bit more organized, it appears to be. And you can see that there's pretty clear indications. Green only extending here, still allowing to build around the perimeter there for that shrine. And then you can see that what looks to be purple is kind of taking that, right? So they kind of built around. You can see kind of doing a U-turn, if you will, to get to that next shrine. Again, you can see the readjustment there as well for how they're redistributing. Then we get to the second zone 2. Again, purple's pretty much taking this over. Green extending just in case they need to do a swap. So again, you're still kind of seeing the same structuring for how they're doing the land distribution. And again, I actually like this approach. So seeing it be something that's consistent and it's not just kind of a one-off, I'm a big fan of that. Then we end up going right, and this kind of takes us top down, and then we end up going here to the side. And you can see here perimeter is right here along the mountain range. And then you can see blue, right? 60 KS kind of coming back into the mix around here, right? They're also up there at the top, or top left from where we are. So here you're seeing pretty much purple, or I should say pink, excuse me. A little bit of yellow, yellow, and then blue, right? With kind of the darkish purple a little bit lower. So again, kind of only a couple alliances here, and you're seeing options here for still extensions going out to the shrines. Then we get to the last zone 2, and you can see we have, again, blue, we have pink, and then it looks like we got green as we kind of work our way up, right? You got a little bit of red there, and you can see kind of the extension going through the middle, right? Still allowing for pathing to happen outside, even though this is kind of more of a direct cutoff. It'd be nice if maybe there was an opportunity, unless maybe they've just kind of already figured it out, and this shrine will just kind of always stay, and that one's never going to move. But if you're thinking about additional access to others, right, there's just something to keep in mind if you're able to work around that. Then we have orange here. So again, you can notice that a lot of the major players and even kind of the secondary players or second string players are occupying your zone 2. So it's not really flooded too much. And I tend to be a little bit more in favor of this. However, I am also a fan, as you've heard me say before, that it's okay to work in, I think, a few academy type or farm or kind of just boosting alliances that you use on a temporary basis to, in the event that you need the extra space, unless maybe they just work that out in zone 1. So I think it just depends, but it's always good to have a healthy amount of shells available for whatever need you might have for those. Then we get to zone 1, and we'll just kind of start here top left, I guess, just to kind of keep things simple. And let's see, you got a couple kind of going off of CFs, but we can also do colors, right? So a little bit of orange extension, light blue, red, dark blue, yellow. That makes 4, purple 5. Yeah. So again, not too many alliances here. I mean, again, it kind of looks a little jumbled. It's not really split up where it's divisioned for what I would argue to be, maybe well or just nicer looking. But you can visually see that it's not as though there's 20 alliances here, right? So again, even though they're definitely Jake the Snaking it pretty intensely, I would say it's not that bad. And again, looks okay. So let's look at the next zone 1. So then we have light blue, purple. Like, this is a little more clear to me, right? Where you kind of have a nice 1/3 here on the left. You have an alliance that kind of has the middle third. And then when you start getting over to the right, you can see it's kind of occupied here by green. I kind of like the distribution here a little bit more just because it seems that there's a little more sense to it, if you will. And then we end up getting over here to the last, let me see, it's third zone 1. And we can see here that we have, what is this, purple, pink, orange, purple, right? So again, only a few, but still distributed nicely where you're kind of seeing like a top quarter, second quarter, third quarter, bottom quarter. So again, a little bit more distribution that's going on. And then we'll take a look here at the fourth zone 1 and girls. And then we end up having the red, yellow, my little Tasmanian devils. And then we get to yellow, right? So 2, 3, a little jumbled here, but again, this isn't too bad. Yellow defining kind of the middle third, and you kind of get to the bottom left third, right? Again, this looks cleaner, where you have, for example, you could look at this alliance, right? Maybe the light blue back here, right? Is kind of, hey, we're just boosting them up, getting them some territory to start developing the shells, right? That's kind of the impression that I might get, even a little bit here, but it's a little cleaner looking, where you kind of see more designated fractions, right, that are distributed between. Then we get to the fifth zone 1, blue. This is looking nice. Blue kind of right third, purple or pink. I guess this is pink, right? Kind of occupying that middle third. And it looks like continuing onwards, right? So someone could occupy this left third, unless maybe this is multiple alliances, but it definitely gives the impression that it's one. So again, could work in maybe one or two other alliances there, just in the event if they need that. And I think it also depends, because some kingdoms are older than others, right? You might already have the enough shells that you need to prep, or that you already have prepped. So you might just already transition to what you're okay with doing, right? Which is kind of getting into your super late game. But that is just something to consider. Always nice to keep in mind. Then we end up getting to the 6th zone, and again, it's kind of light. It looks yellow, blue, orange, and yeah. So that's pretty much it. So we're pretty much done at this point, and that kind of rounds out what our viewing is here for how we're looking on assessing the kingdom itself. Then really the very last thing I want to take a look at is the alliance description boards, right? I'm always a fan of looking at these just to see, again, kind of how organized they are. And nice that we can do a little bit of a conversion here. And one of the things that you'll often hear me talk about is it's good to have some type of awareness, right, and publication in your announcement boards, because not everyone's going to be able to look or read, for example, a King's Mail, even though it does obviously reach out to everyone. Most players, and especially ones that are peeping in on kingdoms, can easily, especially if they don't want to make an account there, right? The one thing they'll always have access to is a alliance announcement board. And typically it's easy to click on that or find a flag and click on it and get there, especially if they don't want to make an account and go through that hassle. So if you look at the announcement board here, right, usually what we'd like to see is something like a alliance name, a family name, a kingdom discord, an alliance discord, contacts for in-game and discord name contacts for who kind of operates in the kingdom, whether that's a diplomat, a migration rep, if it's a recruiter, etc., whoever it may be. Those are the types of things we like to look for in some kind of a formatted bracket. And then you're kind of adding in the rest of that, right? You're adding in maybe some kingdom goals, maybe a little bit of an alliance description, but nothing really here, right? So then we'll get to the number 2 alliance. Ooh, it's a little rougher. So again, we have pretty much nothing. Again, names on the inside, but do these names line up for how they read if you're typing these in-game? But outside of that, nothing really beyond, right? So again, would like to see more from that. Even if we look at the 3rd alliance, again, no real conversions, nothing you can really go off of this, no information about the kingdom. Those are important things. Then we look at same thing, right? You're looking at this alliance here for the 4th, nothing really there. There's not like consistent formatting that you're seeing from number 1, number 2, number 3, right? These are good indicators that a kingdom is unified, kind of beyond what you may or may not know if you're not in the kingdom, or if you're just looking at it at first glance and you see, oh, hey, these alliance announcement boards are pretty consistent with their formatting top down. That's one way that you can tell that a kingdom is unified, just beyond having alliance tags. To me, that doesn't really do a lot of things, but it's kind of how it shows. With that, kind of rounds out where we're at. So again, if you're from 1960, please feel free to let me know. Again, how the kingdom is. We can't really see any King's Mails right now, just because I think when I came back, I had to go through the whole new journey thing and then go back to the home kingdom. But again, I'd love to know, how the distribution works in 1960. I'm always a fan of getting the story and hearing from those. Would love to obviously hear comments on what those think from my kind of assessment and analysis. Obviously, we haven't really been able to do as much of a deep dive, because sometimes reading King's Mails is a great indicator of that. We're not really diving through world chat or kingdom chat, because sometimes that can kind of be subjective and maybe thrown off. It's not always going to be the most accurate indicator of current state of affairs. With that being said, though, again, I'm always happy to hear. Please let me know what you guys think. Good, bad, or indifferent. Always happy to hear. And let me know in the comments down below. That is it for me. As always, until next time, I'll catch you guys later.